because that comes into play later on. They look at what you were discharged for.
And they lose a lot of stuff.
And they conveniently lose a lot of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Or like I said, you know, I was stationed in Kansas. I returned home to Georgia. Even though the address showed a Georgia mailing address, they used my address at Kansas, my last residential, and it says old address, new address. And some clerk just did not look at the new address part, and for a year I was lost in the system because of that. Can you imagine a year of, you know, you get $5,000 and you're waiting on your $500 a month to come in and supplement your income and help with getting the medications that you now require,
right.
you know, and it never comes. So do not wait. Be more proactive. And I would have been more proactive. But the one thing that definitely would have helped me, that if I could tell any veteran facing the situation, is get your hands on that Bastard D. It's online. It's free online. Read what the different percentages are. Make sure that your medical records adequately reflect, you know, your condition, the severity of your condition. If you are looking at that thing, and let's say it says 30% is a limited range of motion, and you may not be suffering a complete limited range of motion, make sure you communicate to that physical doctor, when these muscle spasms happen to me, I am severely limited. You know, because if you don't communicate it, they have to write down everything you say during these physicals. And if they don't ask the right questions, your medical records are inadequate, and you're going to get an inadequate result.
Right.
You know, and your benefits are going to be delayed. And then let's say you go back and you contest it, you appeal, right? You go through the appeals process, and you say, you know, I had a medical physical for the VA, and during this medical physical, I brought up these points, right? But they have it documented by the doctor that you saw that this limited range of motion for like spinal injury was never discussed, that you did not complain about it. The VA goes through your medical records, and they will say, well, you know, you went to sick call when you were active duty. You went to sick call for 10 times. The last 10 times you went to sick call. You did not say that, like Raynaud's syndrome is something that I have because of my thyroid. I go out in the cold and my hands and feet turn yellow, waxy, and I can't feel them. Well, you didn't complain about that the last time you went. Well, they don't look at that. Was in the summer, you know,
right.
And there was no need, no problem in the summer. This Raynaud's happens in cold weather,
right.
You know. And I was stationed in Kansas. It gets very cold in the winter, and that's how it was discovered that I had a thyroid problem, was when this began. But they don't look at the fact that I didn't mention it in the summer, and they will justify their rating and say you didn't mention that your hands and feet, you know, go numb and turn waxy and all these things, these symptoms of Raynaud's syndrome. You didn't mention that in the last 10 times that you went. So therefore, we don't consider that a problem of severity to where we need to rate you for it. It's unbelievable. So if you have asthma, right, and you have to get at least 20% to go through vocational rehab by the VA. And vocational rehab is a wonderful entitlement if you can get it. And I knew someone who had asthma, and I helped her with her paperwork to get the 20%, and we were looking on the Bastard D, and she was working as an insurance agent. And I said, she said, you know, I go into people's homes and they smoke, and I go into people's homes and I have cats, and I have an asthma attack and I can't breathe. I cannot do the job that I'm in. And vocational rehabilitation is to send you to school in order to get a job that you can work with your disability. And she had, I believe it was from oil fires or something that caused this breathing problem of hers, asthma. Right. It was not genetic, it wasn't hereditary, it was service connected. So we wrote that up, and she got her minimum of 20%, and she got her vocational rehab, and she became a chef, where she can work in the back of the kitchen and not be exposed to cigarette smoke. You know, state of Georgia banned smoking, and so you know, she was able to get what she wanted and a job skill that she was able to do. But how could she be an insurance agent and go into people's homes and not be able to breathe or have asthma attacks? And you know, you go into people's homes. So if she had not written that down, they would have inadequately evaluated her, and she would have still been fighting right now instead of being where she is now. Yeah.
Do you find that with the Veterans Administration, the way that it's been set up and the lack of funding for it now, that pretty much veterans are having to justify every bit and every aspect of their just rewards?
I've been out for nearly 5 years, so I don't really have a good grasp of what's going on right now. I know that we've got a tremendous amount of veterans that are returning with medical problems that are combat related. I do know that, like in September 2003, they changed some of the Bastard D to make it more difficult. The spinal injury, what used to be 20% for spinal injury, is now 10 or 0%. So the VA is adapting to the needs, and in my opinion, to make it more difficult for people to be retired. You have to have at least 30% to be retired. Mm-hmm. So they're making it more difficult because it's typically, if you look at the mass numbers, it is your lower enlisted soldiers, your foot soldiers that are coming back with injuries. And so, they don't want to retire an E4 or, a PFC. Right. They don't want to, you haven't had enough time, you haven't been in long enough to retire, though your injury warrants it.
Right.
So they reduced that Bastard D, and you need to know that this is happening, because what if you were injured prior to September 2003 and you're still fighting? You need mm-hmm. to know that they're going to be looking at these things, mm-hmm. And that they do fluctuate. So again, the Bastard D, and knowing branch specific regulations. Each branch has different regulation when it comes to medical evaluation boards and to physical evaluation boards. It's available online now. Get that regulation and read it and know it like the back of your hand, so that you know if your Peblo's doing their job or not. I mean, there were times that I would have to go around to different doctors or to my chain of command, because my chain of command, you have to start the medical board there saying this soldier has this problem, it's going to last more than 12 months, we feel that this warrants a medical evaluation board. If she didn't tell me that, I had to go and find the regulation, and it's got a sample memorandum in there, and I just typed it up specific to my condition by that sample memorandum and got the process going myself, because she did not know to tell me that, or it would take 90 days to contact my command, that sort of thing.
When you returned back and you were going through this whole struggle of receiving your benefits, did you feel betrayed by your country, or betrayed by the military, or betrayed by the president for making cutting the veterans' benefits or anything like that?
I wouldn't use the word betrayed. I would use the word neglected. Neglected, or we're coming back injured with injuries that otherwise wouldn't have happened had there not been a war.
Right.
So these people, and you're young, these very young people are mm-hmm. having to go out here and live without their limbs, mm-hmm. or they're paraplegic or quadriplegic, and that's a crushing blow, because when you're 20 years old, you don't see this happening to you. But neglected is the word, and put off. And it seems to me the system is more about protecting itself by all these excuses, like I was saying, oh, well, we didn't get your paperwork, or oh, we mailed you the letter just to Kansas.
Yeah.
And you know that you forwarded your mail before you left. So neglected, and like the system protects itself more than it does, in my opinion, and my experience that I've been through, than it does the individual soldier coming back. And mm-hmm. it's also overburdened. There needs right. to be more money allocated. There needs Absolutely. To be more VA benefits counselors. Like I went through the Atlanta office, and the records were stacked higher than the furniture. Mm-hmm. So higher than the little walls that they build. They're
right.
actually propping them up with these medical records, with these claims. So there needs to be an improvement to expedite this, or maybe legislation to give temporary. So we're going to temporarily award you this amount until, so the person can live, so they can afford the medications, they can do these things. That would be a huge improvement over what we have now, and just do it on a temporary basis, so that until, at least 12 months or more, until I get to your file at the bottom of my stack.
All right.
But it doesn't happen that way.
What do you